Hi there and welcome to this Race Advisor video, and in this video I just want to show you quickly how the Zero Risk Trader software works so you can decide if it's something for you. So when you open the software, this is what you get, and at the top you'll notice that we have some settings, and the first one is to be set to the commission that you're paying on Betfair, and by default this is of course 5%. Then we move to the minimum lay stake that you can place, and this is set to 2 by default. It can go lower, but I suggest you keep this at 2 so that you don't get into having to place bets below Betfair's minimum stake. If we move across, we then get maximum lay odds, and this is how high you want the software to look on Betfair in terms of laying off your bets, and this is set to 50 by default. And although that may sound very high, don't forget that these are risk-free bets, so actually it's not so high. And again, you may want to lower this to get comfortable, but having it at 50 is fine. I mean, generally there's not a huge amount of money available anyway at odds that high. The minimum return on investment is the amount that you are prepared to accept as your minimum return on these risk-free bets, and again by default that's set to 1. I recommend you set that a little bit higher when you start, just in case you make any mistakes, and while you're getting used to it there's a little bit more of a buffer, maybe 2.5% or even 5% as a starting point, and that will reduce the amount of potential bets that you have, but also gives you a little bit of buffer with more return in case you do make a mistake. And then the last box is the amount you want to stake, and by default that is set at £20. And again, that's a good starting point. But they explain what bankroll they think you should use within the manual. Then on the left hand side we have a races box, and you can either select all races in the country or a specific race individually. And I'm just going to select all races. And there's only a few left because we're towards the end of the day, and then we finally have a choice up here. If we go to tools, we can choose the Bookies, and this allows us to choose which bookmakers we want the software to search through, and I recommend that you use them all and you have accounts with all of them by default. Now we can either choose to run the software on auto scan or manual scan. And by default it's on manual scan, and what this means is you need to press the button, this button here, to scan the markets. Auto scan scans the markets automatically and then rescans them every few minutes to see if there's any changes, and I'd suggest that you use auto scan. And you can see there it goes, off it goes and scans the races. We've got the log here, and up here we've found a potential bet with a return on investment of 7.65%. So here we are, we've got the number in terms of the selection where it found it, race name, horse name, and then we've got the lay odds here, but what we're really interested in is the amount of money. And you can see that at the moment there's not much money, and that's because this race is still a few hours away. So there's not much money on this race yet, but there'll probably be more a little bit later. And then we've got the bookies odds over here, and the bookie that we're going to be betting with. And if you double click this, that's going to bring up the runner's details, and you can see we've got all the information at the top, and we've got the stakes that you should be placing. It tells you everything and how much you're going to make back on the stakes, and it calculates the stakes as well based on the amount of money that's actually available in the market. So you know exactly what to bet, you know how to get it on, and if more than one bookmaker is offering a bet here, then you can select the bookmaker you want from this drop down menu. And so it's as simple as that. You run the scan. It was last updated about a minute ago, and you see which selections have come up, double click on it and place your bet. And that's it. It's a zero risk bet because you're placing it with the bookmaker and then laying it off on Betfair. So I hope that's given you a little bit of an insight into the software. You can see it takes the crunching of numbers and the finding of those selections right out of the equation. And thank you very much for watching this video.